Commander Diana Reed had spent 15 years navigating the solar system's shipping lanes, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for this moment. Her small research vessel, the Stellar Horizon, drifted motionless in space, its sensors reporting impossible readings that defied every law of physics she knew. Navigation. Run the scan again, she ordered, her eyes fixed on the view screen that showed nothing but empty space where her instruments insisted something massive existed. The ship's computer chirped in acknowledgement, but she already knew the result would be the same as the previous 5 scans. Lieutenant Marcus Patel, her chief engineer, hunched over his console, his dark features illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic readouts. "Commander, the gravitational anomaly is still there. Something's bending space-time in a way that shouldn't be possible." Diana pushed herself out of her command chair, floating gracefully in the zero gravity toward the main sensor array. The Stellar Horizon had been dispatched to investigate unusual energy signatures in this remote region between Mars and Jupiter, but what they'd found was beyond anything their mission parameters had prepared them for. "Look at this," Marcus called out, excitement creeping into his usually steady voice. "The energy signature. It's not random. There's a pattern, almost like." A blinding flash of light cut him off mid-sentence. Diana shielded her eyes, and when she lowered her arm, her jaw dropped. Where moments ago there had been empty space, a massive structure now filled their view screen. A sprawling space station that seemed to emerge from nowhere, its architecture unlike anything humanity had ever built. "By all the stars," whispered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their xenobiologist, her voice filled with wonder. "It's been here all along, hasn't it? Hidden in plain sight." The station was a marvel of engineering, a series of interconnected rings rotating in perfect synchronization around a central core. Solar collectors stretched out like silvery petals, drinking in the distant sunlight. But what caught Diana's attention were the lights, thousands of them, twinkling like earthbound cities at night. This wasn't just a station, it was a colony. Their comm system crackled to life with a message that would change everything. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your presence has been noted, and your sensors have partially compromised our cloaking field. Stand by for escort. Any attempt to flee or transmit will be met with immediate defensive action." Diana exchanged glances with her crew. After 15 years of routine missions, they'd just stumbled upon humanity's greatest secret. The Stellar Horizon shuddered as an invisible force took control, guiding them toward a docking bay that materialized out of seemingly solid hull plating. As they drew closer, Diana could make out more details. Gardens visible through transparent sections, transportation pods zipping between the rings, and most surprisingly, children. Through one of the viewport sections, she clearly saw a group of kids playing in what appeared to be a zero-gravity recreation area. "This is impossible," Marcus muttered, his fingers flying over his console. "The energy requirements alone for a cloaking field this size, and the artificial gravity systems. Commander, they're at least a century ahead of our most advanced technology." Before Diana could respond, a new voice came over their comm, different from the first. Older, more authoritative. "Commander Reed, I apologize for the abrupt welcome. I am Director Jason Blackwood of Echo Haven Colony. I'm afraid your discovery of our existence presents us with quite a dilemma." Diana straightened her uniform, years of training kicking in, despite her amazement. "Director Blackwood, we're a research vessel on a sanctioned mission. We had no intention of—" "Of course not," Blackwood interrupted, his tone surprisingly gentle. "No one ever does. But now that you're here, we have much to discuss. Your crew's lives are about to become considerably more complicated." As the Stellar Horizon was guided into the docking bay, Diana watched in fascination as the massive doors materialized around them, the cloaking field rippling like water as it deactivated locally. Armed guards waited beyond the airlock, their uniforms unlike any Earth military design, but it was the technology they carried that made Diana's blood run cold, weapons that seemed to bend light around them, barely visible except for a subtle distortion in the air. The airlock cycled, and as the pressure equalized, Diana made a decision that would alter not just her fate, but potentially the course of human history. Marcus, Yuki, with me. Lieutenant Joe, maintain ship systems at ready, but take no action without my direct order. As the airlock door opened, Diana led her small team into Echo Haven, where Director Blackwood waited with his security detail. He was an imposing figure, tall and gray-haired, with eyes that carried the weight of secrets. "Welcome to Echo Haven, Commander Reed," he said, extending his hand. "I suspect you have questions. I promise to answer them all. But first, there's something you need to see, something that will help you understand why we've gone to such lengths to remain hidden." As they followed Blackwood through the station's corridors, Diana couldn't shake the feeling that they'd crossed a threshold from which there was no return. Echo Haven's existence would reshape humanity's understanding of what was possible, but as she caught glimpses of advanced technology that defied explanation, she began to wonder if humanity was ready for such knowledge. Little did she know, their arrival had set in motion a chain of events that would force both Echo Haven and Earth to confront truths they'd been avoiding for decades. The real question wasn't just how this impossible colony had remained hidden for so long, but why they felt they needed to hide in the first place. Director Blackwood led Diana and her team through Echo Haven's central ring, each step revealing new wonders that challenged their understanding of what humanity was capable of. The corridor walls shifted colors subtly, responding to their presence, while gravitational fields adjusted automatically to their movements. 25 years ago, Blackwood began, his voice carrying the weight of memory. A group of scientists and engineers came to a terrifying conclusion about Earth's future. They saw not just one crisis looming, but a cascade of them: environmental collapse, resource wars, social upheaval. But instead of accepting defeat, they chose to build an ark. They entered a vast chamber that took Diana's breath away. A holographic representation of the solar system filled the space, but unlike any simulation she'd seen before, this one showed swirling patterns of energy and gravitational fields she'd never known existed. Dr. Isabella Reyes. Blackwood gestured to a woman who stood studying the display, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a tight braid. "The architect of our quantum concealment technology." Dr. Reyes turned, her sharp eyes evaluating the newcomers with scientific precision. "Director, these are the ones who penetrated the field." Her accent carried traces of her Argentine heritage, but there was something else in her voice. Pride, perhaps, or challenge. "Not penetrated." Marcus stepped forward, his engineer's curiosity overwhelming his caution. "We just noticed the inconsistencies. Your field generates a unique pattern in the quantum foam, doesn't it? That's why our sensors kept giving impossible readings." A smile flickered across Reyes's face. "Very good, young man. Most observers simply attribute the anomalies to instrument failure. You're the first to recognize the pattern for what it is." Isabella was one of the original founders, Blackwood explained. Along with Dr. Kai Zhang and Professor James Morrison, they developed the theoretical framework that made Echo Haven possible. But theory alone wasn't enough. We needed resources, and more importantly, we needed time. The holographic display shifted, showing the construction of Echo Haven in accelerated time. Modules appearing piece by piece, the quantum field slowly taking shape around them. Diana watched, mesmerized, as she realized the true scale of what these people had accomplished. "How did you keep this secret during construction?" Yuki asked, her xenobiologist's training evident in her precise questioning. "The material requirements alone." "Ah." A new voice joined them, and Diana turned to see an elderly Asian man approaching, supported by a subtle exoskeleton that seemed to flow like liquid metal around his legs. That is where having friends in unexpected places proved invaluable. "Dr. Zhang." Blackwood nodded in greeting. "I was just explaining our beginnings to our unexpected guests." Zhang's eyes twinkled with barely contained excitement. "Did you tell them about the quantum mirrors yet? or the temporal dampeners? No. Oh, my friends, you are in for quite a treat. Over the next hour, Diana and her team learned the true story of Echo Haven's creation. The founders had worked in secret, using a network of private companies and sympathetic officials to gather resources. They'd developed technologies that should have been impossible: gravity manipulation that defied current physics, energy systems that drew power from the quantum vacuum itself, and most incredibly, the cloaking technology that bent not just light, but reality around the station. But why? Diana finally asked. Why maintain the secrecy even now? The advances you've made could solve so many of Earth's problems. The three founders exchanged glances, a silent communication born of decades of collaboration. It was Reyes who finally answered, her voice soft but firm. Commander, what do you think would happen if we revealed ourselves? Our quantum technology alone could revolutionize energy production, but it could also be weaponized in ways that would make nuclear weapons look like children's toys. The temporal dampeners we use for construction. In the wrong hands, they could be used to create temporal weapons that would tear apart the fabric of space-time. We're not hiding from humanity, Zhang added, his exoskeleton whirring softly as he moved closer to the holographic display. We're protecting humanity from itself and from technologies it's not yet ready to control. Diana watched as the display showed various Earth cities, each one surrounded by a web of data showing environmental stress, social instability, and resource depletion. But surely there must be some way to help, some technologies you could safely share. That's exactly what we've been debating for the past decade, Blackwood said. Our population has grown. The second generation of Echo Haven citizens is coming of age, and many of them share your perspective. They want to help Earth, to share what we've learned. But others remember why we had to hide in the first place. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert, a pulsing red light that caught everyone's attention. Dr. Reyes moved to a control panel, her fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Director, she said, her voice tense, we're detecting multiple ships entering the outer sensor perimeter. Their signatures match Earth Defense Force patterns. But there's something wrong. The quantum signatures, they're using some form of detection technology we haven't seen before. Diana felt her heart sink. She knew what this meant. Somehow, Earth's military had tracked them here. Either that or Echo Haven's secret wasn't as well kept as its founders believed. How long? Blackwood asked, already moving toward a command console. 20 minutes until they're within range of the quantum distortion field, Reyes replied. Director, they're on an attack vector. Diana watched as the peaceful scientific haven transformed around her. Hidden defense systems emerged from seemingly solid walls, while the civilian population began moving with practiced efficiency toward designated safe zones. It seems, Dr. Zhang said quietly, that the choice of revelation has been made for us. The question now is not whether to reveal ourselves, but how to do so without starting the very conflict we've spent 25 years trying to prevent. As alarm systems began to sound throughout Echo Haven, Diana realized she and her crew now stood at a crossroads of history. The decisions made in the next few hours would determine not just the fate of this impossible colony, but potentially the future of human civilization itself. The command center of Echo Haven hummed with controlled chaos as holographic displays tracked the approaching Earth Defense Force vessels. Diana found herself caught between worlds, her duty to Earth, and her growing understanding of Echo Haven's importance to humanity's future. 12 ships, Lieutenant Marcus reported, now working seamlessly with Echo Haven's technical team. 3 Titan-class destroyers, 4 Raptor strike cruisers, and 5 support vessels. They're maintaining tight formation, using some kind of linked sensor array we've never seen before. Dr. Rice's fingers danced across her quantum interface, her expression grim. They've developed quantum resonance detection. Crude, but effective. They're using our own field fluctuations to track us. Impossible, Dr. Zhang interjected, his exoskeleton whirring as he moved between control stations. That technology is decades beyond Earth's current capabilities unless. He fell silent, his eyes widening with revelation. Director Blackwood finished the thought. Unless they had help. Isabella, bring up the personnel archives. Security clearance Omega. A new holographic display materialized, showing profiles of former Echo Haven residents. Diana's attention caught on one face, a man with sharp features and cold eyes. The name beneath read, Dr. Victor Nash, Quantum Physics Division. 6 months ago, Blackwood explained, Dr. Nash disappeared during an authorized maintenance expedition to our outer sensor array. We assumed he'd been lost to a suit malfunction. Clearly, we were wrong. He was brilliant, Dr. Rice added, her voice tight with old pain. But he disagreed with our policy of isolation. He believed Earth deserved access to our technology, regardless of the consequences. The tactical display suddenly flared with new warnings. The Earth fleet had launched probes, dozens of them, creating a web of quantum sensors that began to map Echo Haven's true dimensions. They're not just trying to find us, Marcus said, studying the data. They're looking for weaknesses in the quantum field. If they collapse it in the wrong way, the temporal backlash could tear the station apart, Dr. Zhang finished, along with half the asteroid belt. Diana stepped forward, decision made. Let me contact them. I'm still an Earth Command officer. Maybe I can negotiate. Commander Reed, a new voice cut through the command center speakers. Diana froze, recognizing the cold authority in those words. This is Admiral Elena Vasiliev of the Earth Defense Force. We know you and your crew are aboard the rogue station. For your own safety, and in accordance with Earth law, you are ordered to evacuate immediately. You have 15 minutes to comply. Blackwood's face hardened. They're not here to negotiate. They want our technology, and they'll tear this station apart to get it. Wait, Yuki called out from her station, where she'd been analyzing the fleet's communications. Look at their formation. The support ships, they're not warships. Those are colony vessels designed for long-term habitation. Understanding dawned on Diana's face. They're not just here for the technology. They want to take Echo Haven intact. This is an invasion force. Dr. Rice straightened, her eyes blazing with determination. Then they're about to learn why we've survived out here for so long. Director, permission to activate the Lazarus Protocol. Blackwood hesitated for just a moment before nodding. Do it. But Isabella, remember there are families on those ships. Whatever Nash told them, those crews think they're following legitimate orders. Diana watched in amazement as Echo Haven's true defenses came to life. The quantum field that had hidden the station for so long began to shift, its energy patterns changing in ways that made her eyes hurt to watch. What are you doing? She asked, unable to look away from the mesmerizing display. Creating quantum echoes, Dr. Zhang explained, his hands moving through holographic controls with practiced ease. Multiple temporal shadows of the station, each as real as the original until observed. Let them try to attack a target that exists in several places at once. The Earth fleet's formation began to break as their sensors detected multiple stations appearing around them. Confused communications filled the channels as targeting systems failed to lock onto any single reality. But Admiral Vasiliev wasn't so easily deterred. Final warning. Her voice came again, harder now. Surrender your station, or we will be forced to take action. Dr. Nash has informed us of your defensive capabilities and their limitations. Director Blackwood stepped to the main communications panel, his voice steady as he responded. Admiral, I don't know what Dr. Nash has told you, but I guarantee he hasn't told you everything. Echo Haven was built to preserve humanity's future, not to serve any single nation or military force. If you attack us, there will be consequences beyond your understanding. As if to emphasize his point, the quantum echoes suddenly synchronized, creating a cascading wave of temporal energy that washed over the Earth fleet. Ship after ship reported sensor failures, weapon systems going offline, and navigation computers crashing. Temporal dampening field at full power, Dr. Rice reported. Their ships are now experiencing time at 1/10 normal flow. It will give their crews a chance to reconsider their options without risking immediate conflict. Diana stared at the tactical display, watching as the Earth fleet hung motionless in space, caught in Eco Haven's temporal net. The technology on display defied everything she'd ever learned about physics, about what was possible. But in the midst of this demonstration of power, she noticed something else. Movement at the edge of the sensor range. Something was coming. Something massive that even Eco Haven's advanced systems were struggling to identify. "Director," she called out, pointing to the anomaly. "I don't think the Earth fleet is our only problem anymore." As they all turned to look, the unknown contact finally resolved itself on their screens. It wasn't a ship or even a fleet. It was a tear in space itself, a rift of swirling energy that seemed to bend both light and time around it. Dr. Zhang's voice shook as he read the sensor data. "The quantum resonance from our defense system, combined with their sensor web, we've inadvertently created a temporal corridor. And something's coming through." Eco Haven's fate now hung in the balance, caught between Earth's military might and an unknown force that their own actions had accidentally summoned from the depths of space-time itself. The temporal rift pulsed with impossible colors as it grew larger, its swirling energies distorting the very fabric of space around Eco Haven. In the command center, alarms blared as sensors struggled to make sense of what they were detecting. "Release the Earth fleet from the temporal field," Diana commanded, surprising everyone with her authority. "Whatever's coming through that rift, we'll need every ship we can get." Director Blackwood nodded to Dr. Reyes, who quickly began dismantling the dampening field. As time normalized for the Earth vessels, Admiral Vasiliev's voice crackled through their comm system, tinged with both anger and confusion. "What did you do to our ships? Our chronometers show we lost almost 3 hours, but our fuel consumption indicates only minutes have passed." "Admiral," Diana cut in, "I strongly suggest you look at your long-range sensors. We have a situation that supersedes our conflict." On the main display, the rift continued to expand. And finally, something began to emerge. It looked like a ship at first, sleek, metallic, impossibly large. But as more of it appeared, the horror of what they were seeing became clear. That's Eco Haven," Dr. Zhang whispered, his exoskeleton whirring as he stepped closer to the display. But wrong. Twisted. He was right. The object emerging from the rift was indeed Eco Haven, or rather, a version of it. But where their station was a marvel of elegant engineering, this mirror image was a grotesque fusion of organic and mechanical components. Its quantum field flickered erratically, revealing glimpses of what appeared to be human forms embedded within its hull. "It's us," Dr. Rice breathed, her fingers flying over her console. "From another timeline. One where something went very, very wrong." The alternate Eco Haven sensors swept over them, and suddenly, a familiar voice filled their comm system. Director Blackwood's voice, but distorted, filled with an artificial resonance that made Diana's skin crawl. "So this is where it diverged," the other Blackwood said. "The moment we chose to remain hidden, instead of embracing our true potential. A mistake we're here to correct." The real Blackwood stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "What happened to you? What did you do to your station? Your people?" "We evolved." The response came. "When Earth's forces found us, instead of hiding, we defended ourselves. We discovered that quantum technology could do more than bend space. It could bend biology, consciousness itself. We became one with our station, one with the quantum field. Perfect fusion of human and machine." Diana watched in horror as the twisted station's surface rippled, revealing more human forms merged with the structure, their faces frozen in expressions of ecstasy or agony. It was impossible to tell which. "Admiral Vasiliev," Diana called out on an open channel, "I suggest an immediate ceasefire between our forces. That thing is a threat to everyone." "Agreed," Vasiliev responded without hesitation. "All ships, Defensive formation around Echo Haven. Dr. Nash, you're needed in the primary tactical room. The twisted Echo Haven began to pulse with energy, its quantum field extending tendrils toward both the station and the Earth fleet. Where these tendrils touched, metal began to warp and organic matter started to grow. "They're trying to assimilate us," Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the fear evident on his face. "The quantum field is acting as a carrier for some kind of technological virus." Dr. Rice and Dr. Zhang worked frantically at their stations, attempting to reinforce their own quantum field against this new threat. But Diana noticed something else, a pattern in the enemy's attacks. "They're not random," she said, moving to the tactical display. "Look at the temporal signature of each tendril. They're creating a resonance pattern, like they're trying to sing the station into their frequency." Dr. Nash's voice suddenly came over the comm, surprising everyone. "She's right. They're using quantum harmonics to force a reality convergence. If they succeed, our timeline will merge with theirs." Admiral Vasiliev sat with perfect military posture, her uniform crisp despite the recent chaos. Beside her, Dr. Nash looked everywhere except at his former colleagues, guilt and defiance warring on his face. Director Blackwood, Dr. Rice, and Dr. Zhang represented Echo Haven, while Diana and Marcus attended as neutral witnesses to recent events. "Let's address the quantum-enhanced elephant in the room," Vasily began. "We've all seen what Echo Haven's technology could become in the wrong hands, or rather, what it did become in another reality. That alone proves the wisdom of your original caution. Yet it also demonstrates why complete isolation is no longer viable," Diana added, stepping into her unexpected role as mediator. "The alternate timeline showed us what happens when we let fear drive us to extremes." Dr. Reyes nodded slowly. "The quantum breach has left traces in the fabric of space-time. More rifts could open. We need Earth's resources and fleet support if we're going to prevent further incursions. And Earth needs Echo Haven's technology," Dr. Nash interjected, speaking for the first time. "Not all of it, not the dangerous elements, but enough to help address the crisis that drove you to build this place in the first place." Director Blackwood leaned forward, his fingers steepled in thought. "What exactly are you proposing, Admiral?" "A compromise," Vasiliev replied. "Echo Haven remains independent, but enters into a formal alliance with Earth. You share carefully selected technologies: clean energy, medical advances, environmental restoration. In return, you get our protection, resources, and a voice in shaping humanity's future in space. And oversight," Dr. Zhang added, surprising everyone. "But not just from Earth. We need a joint council representing both Earth and Echo Haven to evaluate which technologies can be safely shared and when." Marcus, who had been quietly analyzing data on his tablet, looked up. "The quantum resonance from the battle has already changed things. Within a year, Earth's sensors will be able to detect Echo Haven anyway. Better to control the revelation than have it forced upon us." A holographic display activated in the center of the table, showing the solar system with Echo Haven's position clearly marked. Dr. Rice manipulated the controls, highlighting various spatial anomalies. The battle with our alternate selves left quantum scars in space, but perhaps she adjusted the display, showing how the anomalies could be used to create stable travel corridors. "We can turn that to our advantage. Create safe routes between Earth and Echo Haven, while making the surrounding space even more difficult to navigate without proper guidance. A controlled revelation," Diana mused. "Echo Haven becomes known not as a hidden rebel colony, but as humanity's forward operating base for deep space exploration." Dr. Nash straightened. "The quantum corridors could be the key to practical interstellar travel. Together, we could reach the stars within decades instead of centuries." "And what of you, Dr. Nash?" Blackwood asked quietly. "After what you did?" "I submit myself to Echo Haven's justice," Nash replied, his voice firm. "But I hope my actions during the battle showed that despite our disagreements, I never wanted to harm this place. I only wanted humanity to benefit from what we created here. Admiral Vassiliev cleared her throat. Perhaps Dr. Nash's punishment could be constructive rather than punitive. He understands both worlds. He could help establish the protocols for technology sharing, under strict supervision, of course. The discussion continued for hours, hammering out details, addressing concerns, finding compromise where none seemed possible. Diana watched as longtime adversaries became reluctant partners, united by their shared experience of facing a darker version of themselves. 1 week later, Diana stood with Director Blackwood in Eco Haven's observation dome, watching as Earth ships and station vessels conducted joint maneuvers, testing the quantum corridors that would soon connect humanity's past with its future. Having second thoughts, she asked, noting his pensive expression. Always, he replied with a slight smile. But for the first time, in 25 years, I'm also having hope. Real hope, not just the desperate kind that drove us to build this place. Below them, in one of Eco Haven's vast agricultural rings, Earth scientists worked alongside station experts, learning how quantum field manipulation could enhance crop yields and purify water. In the medical bay, Dr. Zhang supervised the installation of temporal stasis units that would revolutionize emergency care throughout the solar system. We're calling it the Renaissance Initiative, Blackwood continued, a careful, controlled sharing of knowledge that will help Earth step back from the brink while preventing the technological leaps that corrupted our alternates. And my crew? Diana asked, though she already knew the answer. Admiral Vassiliev agrees that the Stellar Horizon and her crew would make excellent ambassadors between Earth and Eco Haven. Assuming you're interested in a permanent assignment here. Diana smiled, watching as Marcus excitedly discussed quantum mechanics with Dr. Reyes, while Yuki explored the Xenobiology Lab's collection of samples from the outer solar system. I think we could be persuaded to stick around. A flash of light caught their attention. Another quantum scar opening briefly before sealing itself. But now, instead of fear, it brought determination. Eco Haven sensors were already adapting to predict these events, while Earth's ships learned to navigate the new dangers of quantum-scarred space. You know, Diana said thoughtfully, that other timeline showed us what we could become if we let fear and ambition drive us. But maybe this is our chance to show all possible timelines what humanity can achieve when we face our challenges together. Blackwood nodded, watching as the first official transport from Earth docked with Eco Haven, not hidden from history anymore, but helping to write its next chapter. As if in response, the quantum field surrounding Eco Haven shifted, no longer hiding the station, but rather highlighting it against the star-filled backdrop of space. The shimmer of its advanced technology now served as a beacon of hope rather than a cloak of fear, marking humanity's first steps into a future where the secrets of quantum science would be unlocked not by one hidden colony, but by a united human race reaching for the stars.